grants. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of grant opportunities out there. But what are good for your nonprofit? Which ones actually align? Because you don't want to fall into the trap of sending out 100 grant applications, the same exact one, to 100 different places over a weekend using AI. No, 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 no. Please don't do that. What organizations are looking for right now is very aligned. Grant prospecting is what we like to call it when we find grant applications for you. There's science and there's an art. What we're going to talk about today, though, is just having a forecast. So this is what I like to call just a grant prospecting forecast. And this is something that some people like to do before they go into a sales call with a nonprofit, or before they submit a proposal to a nonprofit, so that after they talk to them in the sales call and they have a little bit more information, but they really want to put together a solid proposal. And maybe the nonprofit is very niche. Maybe they're very, in a different area, like all of the things, and they just don't know what the actual forecast is. So they don't want to put in that they're going to write 40 grant applications for them in a year contract if they don't know that they can find that. So this kind of like breaks it down on both sides. It gives you, the freelance grant writer, more information, and it gives the nonprofit or organization also more confidence to know what's out there and if this is even probable or any of that. I'm just giving you the basics, and I'm using Instrumentl. Instrumentl is a grant research prospecting software, and we do like using Instrumentl. I've also used Foundation Directory Online. There's Grant Station. There's so many different places. There's Grant Gopher. So there's definitely a lot of different places to find this, but I do like Instrumentl because of what I'm going to show you today. You don't have to just put in like youth or like something very broad. You can go a little bit more specific, and then it's going to match specific grant programs with what you've put, and ask you a lot more questions to really get you to narrow down the grants. So maybe you don't see 1,000 grants, but that's 1,000 grants you don't have to go into. Maybe it only pulls up 120, but hey, out of 120, you still have to like niche that down even further. This is what's going to help you get started with maybe just a forecast, which could be free and it could be paid for. But if you go into actually deep dive prospecting, you will want to charge for that. Absolutely. We're not going to show you that today. We're just going to show you a forecast. So let's get into it now. And if you want to save $50 off of your subscription to Instrumentl, we are affiliates with them because we love what they're doing. We're using them. You can see that. So if you want to save $50 off your subscription, go to instrumentl.com and use our code Holly50. You can definitely find it inside the show notes below as well. And inside the Academy, there's also ways that people save a lot of money using Instrumentl by going in on a plan together. So we have all ways of looking at how to find grant prospecting, what works for you. And we also show you other places to use as well. But we do love using Instrumentl. It's what I use in my agency. Okay, we are inside Instrumentl now, and this is how you would really start to see some different things going on as far as getting a snapshot of funding opportunities available. Remember, this is just a snapshot. I'm not going to do a deep dive. I'll do another video on how to actually do more prospecting and really look a little deeper into the grants and making sure they're aligned. But we're just looking for a forecast. We're just looking for like what is out there. We're not going deep dive, right? So all you have to do is let's go ahead and get all of the things. So I'm going to create a project and I'm going to call it Test Nonprofit. And then I'm going to put in, I love what Instrumentl does is they ask you like very specific things, right? What do you do, who you serve, intended outcomes and impact. And these are all questions, as you see through here, you could ask. You don't necessarily, if you're just doing a snapshot, need to ask all of these, but you can ask some of these as well before people book on your discovery sales calls, or if you're going to actually deliver this with the proposal and you want to do this after your discovery sales call, you can definitely ask some of the questions in your call. Okay, so let's go ahead. I just wrote here, very brief, an animal nonprofit looking for funding to help with spaying and neutering 300 cats and dogs per year for catch and release in a rural community in the Midwest. I'm actually going to update this and put Michigan. They also need funds for paying the veterinarians, hygiene, and animal kennel stays. I'm going to call this, I'm just trying to put in keywords here that, you know what I mean, might be pulled up. So the intended outcomes is to reduce the overall stray cat and dogs by 25% in the first year in the rural community. You might not have this depth of knowledge if you're just doing a snapshot and people are just filling out your form, but you could just be like, you could ask this question, it would be good. And they might not give you this specific of a result, but hey, it's worth it to try to get very specific. The impact is to have safer communities and so animals are not suffering from hunger and disease. We've fulfilled their requirements here. And we're going to generate some keyword suggestions. You can also add keywords manually, but this is nice because it's going to find them for you. And they're basically pulling from the same set of words, but then you do have to select the ones you want to use. So, okay, domestic animals, even though they're not stray, like sometimes it's nice. People like to do this if they're having a lot of cats and dogs get spayed and neutered, even domestic animals, because they can get out of the house, right? Veterinary science is good. Rural development, if we're in a rural area. Healthcare access and delivery, okay, that's okay. Community and public health. You could select other words that these didn't really like hit it on the nose, and it might pull up. There's animal welfare general. I actually like that one more than one of the other. So I'm going to update the 6 keywords, and it might not let me use 6. Like sometimes it just wants 2 to 5, right? So let's see what it does. But I'm also going to put matching and tracking, and then I'm going to go to next. So now that we're here, there's more questions, and these are kind of automatically filled in. So I'm going to actually take an elementary and school just because I had selected these before. Put nonprofit. I might put hospital and clinic, but that might skew my results just because we're looking at a veterinarian, but I'm just going to hold off. But you can always go back in and add more. So then if you do take them on as a client, you can play with this and add different keywords and all the things to try to find more targeted opportunities, right? This is not faith-based. Which areas? Inside the United States. Is it national? I like how they say that you can have it national, or you can say it's in a certain place. So I'm going to say it's in a certain place. I'm actually, they added Guam, so I'm glad that they added U.S. territories here. I'm actually going to say it's in Michigan. I'm just going to go with Marquette up in the UP. I don't know, that's actually considered rural, but let's see. It's not that big. All right, so let's go confirm. And then we're going to go to, we don't have plants, but this is animals, and this is just optional too. But I'm going to put in some optional, obviously cats, small cats, wild cats. So wild cats is going to be good. I might put in domestic cats too, as I mentioned, just because they can get out of the house. Wild dogs and domestic dogs. All right, they even got prairie dogs. Update the animals. No minimum, no maximum. I'm just going to keep that open. I'm going to say we might do some education and outreach, project and programs, general operating. Maybe we'll do some training, capacity building. We are not doing any kind of academic research for this, and I want to look at money from everything. All right, now I'm going to put save and exit. Once again, I'm just doing this fast, especially if I'm not getting paid. Now, side note, this little pop-up window comes up. I like taking a screenshot of this pop-up window because it's cute and it looks already like nice and whatever. So I'll oftentimes have this and like just on one sheet of paper, like here's what we found, here's the keywords we use, this is what we looked for, these are the different areas that basically everything I filled in. And then also, and I have a template already ready to go. Also, here's the little snapshot. This is what we found. So they found 300 grants, so very cool. But these are not all going to be perfect either for the organization. But this is kind of like what the pile is. Now we can find the pins in the pile, right? But you're not going to do that unless you get paid to find the pins. You're just getting paid, or right now you're not even getting paid. You're just pointing to the haystack. So now you're going, there's hay, and we know there's pins in there. There's 300 pins buried in there. They're buried in the hay. So we got to find the top 15 or whatever. But we're not going to do that yet because we're not getting paid to do that. But that at least, you don't even have to go deeper than that when you're just doing a funding, you're just doing a forecast, right? On like what's out there. Once you get paid, you got to go deeper. You can't just like, oh yeah, that's it. And let's put them all on there. And let's send, 2-page LOIs to every single nonprofit over the weekend. No. All right. So that will definitely be a different video because that's where we go deeper. But that's just what I wanted to show you right there. And you could just scroll down and you could start looking at all of these organizations. And sometimes you're going to be like, yeah, solid waste management. I don't know. That doesn't really sound like it's clicking. But some of these are like adoption prep grants, animal welfare organizations, like, okay. And then on this sidebar, you can actually start seeing more. You can visit the website. You can look at 990s. That'll be on a deeper dive video. You can see the cycles, and you can see that they're pulling from your keywords here. You can see where they're funded, in what area, all of the things. This is so, so good to give you all the information about the grant programs, eligibility, preferences, etc. So this is a really nice way to do just a quick funding prospect forecast. All right, I hope you enjoyed the video.